Welcome guys to Coding Science. Today we'll make a short video on how to get started with Python. The first thing we'll do is to install Python. Then we will install a text editor so we can write some code. We'll configure it for Python and create a workspace. Then we'll make a first file on Python and see a little bit how it works. And from there you will be good to go. Okay, so let's get started. Let's begin by installing Python. So the first thing you're going to do is to open a browser. You go to www.python.org. I have it as a main page here. You go to Downloads, the tab Downloads, and depending on your OS, on your platform, you will choose the right one here. I am on Windows 10, so I will choose Windows and download the Python 3.9.4. When it's downloaded, you open the file, and this window pops up. So from here, you can choose either a customized installation, where you can choose the location of your installation, but here we'll choose default. But before you start clicking on Install Now, you need to make sure that you select this little checkbox here, add Python 3.9 to path. Why is that? Because later, when you're gonna, we'll see a little bit later, but when you're gonna use a terminal, you need this to be in place so that your terminal can find the Python program. So now let's install it. Now, when the setup is successful, like so, you just close the window and now your Python is installed. Now, if you want to make sure that this is correct and everything is okay, you can go to your search field here, right, on Windows, I'm talking about here, so it will be PowerShell here. That starts a window for us. Okay, on this PowerShell, you will write something like Python, then version here. Sorry, this is wrong. I need version with the little v. And there we go. Now you see here, I can see that my Python 3.9.4 is installed. Now that we have installed Python, the next step is to choose a editor so we can write some code. Now I chose to go for Visual Studio Code. It's free and it works very well. So you go to the page code.visualstudio.com, or you just Google it and it will most likely send you here. Then you will go to the download for Windows, so you download your file. When your file is finally downloaded, you click on Open. You choose your language, so here I will go for English. Now this gives me this checkbox because I already have it installed. You shouldn't get it, but I will just click yes. You accept the agreement. Go to next. You choose the location of your installation, if you can change it by going to browse, or you can keep the standard. Going to next. Next. You can create a desktop icon if you want to, but I already have it. So you go for next, and then you will hit install and wait for your installation to finish. Now, mine is already installed, so I'm not going to do that. I'll just cancel it and finish. Now we've installed Visual Studio Code, so let's start it. Now, when you open Visual Studio Code for the first time, it doesn't have the extension for Python, which means right now it can't work with Python files. So the first thing you're going to do is move to the tabs here and choose the extension tab there. On the search field here, you will write Python and wait for a list to show up. Now, you will choose Python by Microsoft here. It may not be on top for you. You may have to look a bit inside here. It should be at least in the top list. But you should look for the Python from Microsoft and select it. When you select it, you come to that page here and you can choose to install the extension. Now, me, it's already installed. I will not uninstall it. So you hit install, you wait for the installation to happen, and then you're good to go. From that point, Visual Studio Code is ready to handle Python files. Now, we want to start working with Python, and for that, the best way is to create first a workspace. So you go to Files here, then you go to Open Folder. Okay, so you come here to a browser and you can just create a folder called Workspace anywhere you want on your computer and select it. So me, I have created the Python workspace here, and I will select it as my workspace folder. Next step is to save the workspace. So we'll choose. You go back to, let's see. You go back to Files here and Save Workspace as, and I will call it CS for Coding Science Workspace. There. And I will save it. Okay, so now you're ready to, you have a folder where you can put all your codes or your code files. It's easier for you later to find out, to come back to your work when it's all located in one place. Okay, the workspace is in place. Now let's start by creating our first file. So you will go to File, New File. And as you can see, you get an untitled here. It's a new file that hasn't been saved. So let's first write our first code of line. Print. The function print here is to command the computer to write something on our terminal. You will see. And I want it to say it works. And there we go. And as you can see here, so I'm writing my code, but still I have this white text on a gray background. What's the difference with a completely normal basic editor? Well, this is because we haven't saved our file yet. Now, I'm hitting Ctrl S to save the file. As you can see, I open into my workspace. And I will give it a name. So, my first program, for example. You can call it whatever you want. And the important part here is to finish with a .py. The .py is the extension on a file that says this is a Python file. Now, when you write the .py here, suddenly Visual Studio Code understands this is a Python file, and we apply all the colors and the nice stuff that it offers for working with Python files. The same is that when you're going to try to execute your program from the terminal with the Python program, it needs to see the .py extension to understand that this is a program that it can run. So it's very important to end your name with a .py for all files that has to do with Python. Now, let's save this, and as you can see, we suddenly have nice colors. Now that we have written our first line of code, how can we execute it? How can we ask the computer to run it? Well, that's when we're going to use a terminal. So there are two ways of using kind of the same terminal here. First, we can see that if you open a PowerShell, so you write PowerShell here, have PowerShell and open it. Then you need to go to your folder, to your workspace folder. So here we'll use the function cd. Mine is on my D drive. Let's see, D drive, then backslash my work, coding science, and then Python workspace, enter there. So now I'm located in the workspace folder, my Python workspace folder. Now you need to change that path with the path that you use where you find where you saved your workspace. I'm using the function ls for list to see what is in that folder. And as you can see here, since we saved, we can find the my first program.py. Okay. So now on Windows, you just write Python, then you start writing the name of your file. So like my first, then I hit tab to finish it, and then enter. Now you use the Python program to run that file. And the result is that we printed on the terminal, it works. There you go. You started your first program. Now, this is nice, and we can use that terminal, but there is an easier way to do it through Visual Studio Code, which is, let's close this one. So you're back on your program here, and now you're going to go back up here on the right corner, top corner, and you hit that little triangle here to run your program. What happens then? Well, it opens a terminal under your script. And if you can see, this is also a Windows PowerShell. Okay, you can see it's the same terminal as the one we opened before. Works with the same name, and the nice part is you don't need to write your run command. It will do it automatically. It says here where it found the file, the path of the file, and here you can see your result. It works. And you can also write something in that terminal. So let's see that if you wanted to clear it, you write CLS, and now you've cleared it. It's back. It's nice. Not too much comments and stuff. That's nice to do if you're gonna test and test and test again, because it's easier to read when you clear a bit your screen. Now, before we end this video, I would like to show you one last thing. Is when you make a program, I mean, here we just have one sentence, so it's okay not to make a mistake, but usually you're gonna make mistakes. And it's nice to take a look at what happens when you make a mistake. So let's make a mistake on purpose here. Now, the function print uses what's called a string. Here in orange, it's a string. Now, the string needs to be in two different, between quotes, okay? So let's say we remove one of the quotes and then we save the file. Okay, and now we try to run it. So Python tries to run the file, and what you have here, as you see, it's an error. You get an error. So here it's called the syntax error. Okay, and it has a little marker here to try and show you where the error is, and it also gives you the line number. If you have thousands of lines, this is very useful. Then you know where in your code you need to go and check for errors. So here it tells us that we have a syntax error. We didn't write our line correctly, which is exactly what we tried to do. Now here, what it sees, it's that you try to call something, you open for writing a string, but you never ended it. As you can see here, this one became orange. So that Python doesn't like. So now what you do is you correct your error, you you save again, and then you try to run it once again. And as you can see, it works here. Okay. So that's it for this video. I'm trying to keep it short. This is the first video of a Python for Beginners series. So if you're interested to learn more, keep following. I will come with more videos on the subject, and I hope to see you guys. Have a nice day.